Everybody, welcome back. Doing another Dark Dimension 4 video. This time it's going to be kind of it's going to tie into something that I actually do for a living a little bit, where you know, it's lining things up, scheduling them, making sure that you figure out kind of your constraints, your critical paths, stuff along those lines. So there's a lot of different views on Dark Dimension 4. We've been watching people going through there with Fates and Tadano, and you know, a lot of different tools out there. So I'm not going to go into depth about the different tools and all that, but I wanted to kind of point on those to show you how it's led me to a point to show, I mean, stuff that some of us honestly probably already know about what bottlenecks and what constraints we have and what critical paths we have in the game for Dark Dimension 4. But I was a little bit shocked about, once I actually put some math behind this, seeing how far some of them were out and what that in turn would make me do in the game at the moment. So I'm going to cover some of those type of things. So hopefully this will help you plan for Dark Dimension 4 and also figure out what you want to be doing in the game right now. All right, so let's check it out.
Bring me WolverThor!
All right, so the first tool that I did a video on the other day, and again, I butchered his name. I'm probably going to butcher it again, even though Reminax was telling me exactly how to say it. But Verdronius, I hope that's closer. I butchered it. I think that's actually the same way I said it, so I'm sure I'm saying it wrong again. Apologies. I need to literally like have a post-it on my screen for that. Made this great Dark Dimension 4 tracker for gear. So you basically put your characters in here and you figure out, you know, what you need. So this is one of the things that is in this concept of getting into Dark Dimension 4. So the next question is, well, what else is there, right? What else do you need besides understanding this gear, and specifically gear tier 15 uniques that you need to get into Dark Dimension 4? Not very complicated, but next one, and there's an infographic out there for it, you know, done by Punk and myself. Leveling 80. Level 80 energy. How long is it going to take to get to level 80? Now, again, on this infographic, it was summarized based on certain approaches. 2.5 months, essentially. That's how long it's going to take you to get to level 80. All right, well then, what are you going to do with your tunes? Well, you got to level those up, right? So the next part of this was, all right, I got to look at my gold, right? How much gold and how long would it take to get the gold to get those tunes to level 80? All right, so part of the infographic with the level 80, I had all this information down here. Well, what I added was I added this section here where you can kind of see the gold required to get per character. And I want to give another shout out here. So there's another gold infographic here for leveling costs that's put together by Dr. Chaos. And it looks like Ibombe. So those two, they put together this fantastic infographic. It's on my Discord server, link in the description below if you want to check it out ever. And so I took their numbers from 75 to 80 here. Because again, they got this fantastic infographic that they're using. And I took that and I put that in this particular spreadsheet just to show, okay, that gold means that to get from level 75 to 80 is 2.1 million gold. Now, again, you're already at level 75 here, assuming, right? Otherwise, it's more gold on top of that, which I'm not going to really get into that at the moment, but you've got Dark Dimension 4 characters that you need minimally 16, assuming, you know, you're going to somehow in that 16, you're going to have your first 5. And that's a total of 34 million gold. Okay? So that's another thing you got to think about, right? So we talked about the gear tier 15. We talked about getting to level 80 energy, and then we wanted to talk about the gold, right? And now another aspect of this to getting to level 80 is also in training up is the training modules. I personally don't know exactly how many that is, and I didn't necessarily dive into it, and I'll tell you in a second why once we actually go into the spreadsheet that I've got for all of this stuff that kind of culminates together. So you guys can see all that. All right, so I've got this stuff where I was kind of looking at, like I mentioned, I got the gear here, level energy, we talked about that, gold required. So I looked at this 34 million. Now the gold per week, this is how much you could get. This one, again, it's a debatable thing, but it was roughly 4.6 million. And I did this a while back in a video. This was probably a year ago now or close to it, maybe a little under a year, where I did this giant gold analysis about where you get things, how long it would take to do certain things. And essentially it came out to 4.62 million a week for how much gold you could get. Again, that's going to vary a little bit, but you get the concept. Again, in this particular video, it's not going to make a huge deal because it's something that we're already looking at. There's going to be a bigger constraint outside of that. So I'm not going to focus on it too much. But for argument's sake, it's going to be about 7, just say 7 to 9 weeks for getting the gold for just that. Because again, I only talked about getting from 75 to 80. Some of these characters like Ghost, if you use her, might need from 0 to 75. So there's more gold. So you can call it, 7 to 9 to 10 weeks, somewhere around there. The next part of all of this is gear 15 that you might need here. Okay. Now this is the part that I'm really focusing in on this. Again, I talked about training modules. The reason I'm not going to focus on training modules is because I think there's a bigger constraint here, and that bigger constraint is this specific gear tier 15. So I took what I had as of November 29th, which is just a few days ago, as of shooting this video, and how much gear I had. That was roughly 25 days in. And what I didn't buy any of the gear tier 15 unique offers. I didn't buy any of them. I bought every one that I saw in the gold supply store. So I had gold to get it. So every time it popped up, I bought one. I obviously opened anything from those bounty orbs, which those were terrible, but whatever. If I got something, there was something there. Anything that I saw in the war store, I bought, but I also had probably about 20K currency that saved up. So I don't expect people to have that many necessarily. And then I could do that until I got low, and that basically ran out a few days before I took this inventory. So this inventory and I also opened a couple war orbs. So in my mind, this inventory is close to what people are going to get every 25 days. And that's essentially, when you look at it, you're about going to get, on average about 18 of each one of these, which is enough for one piece. Not like a whole, but one part of each component. What I mean by that, I'll show you here in game with my blue stacks. Let me bring this up. What I mean by that is, if you go to a character here, you need 18 of these things, right? So you need 18 of, 2 basic components to make this one piece. And that's how it is. Depending on the character, there might be a couple different pieces, needing them. But that's the idea. So I would get this piece every 25 days. Another 25 days, assuming I got the right RNG and those 18 pieces, I'd get this piece. So that's, again, depending on the character, will determine how long it takes. And there's another infographic out there that Punk and myself put together. Let's pull that up. This one that kind of shows you, all right, so, each one of those was 18. All right, well, to complete a character, I was looking at Symbiote Spider-Man. Well, I need 72. Okay, I need 72 pieces of that, which, is going to be difficult. And that's going to be, that's 4 pieces, right? So to get that times 25 days, that's 100 days that I need to get those pieces for just him, right? So if I got 100 days there, it's 3 months. A little over 3 months to get the gear for just him. 3 months for just that, right? And then you obviously need a different number of characters, and you can look here and all the different things, and we'll get into this graphic a little bit more in a second. But when you're looking at this, you're going, okay, so 25 days in, I get that many pieces. So that's what I write here. It's basically 1 piece per trade every 25 days. I've got this thing here where I'm basically saying, how many times does that mean that I've got to go, that I've got to experience that 25 days to get those pieces? And that's based off of what's remaining, how many pieces I have remaining versus what I got. It's a simple division formula, right? So it means I need to do that many times. And then I say, how many days does it take to get that? Simple, right? It's that times, 25. And I used 25. And then I got into the weeks and the months that I got the gear. And I will say, and then I ended up averaging the bottom here, but you can see the average amount of days it takes me to get that gear is 300. 42 weeks, 10 months to get that gear for these. And it's assuming I get that same thing. Now, again, it's also not factoring some special milestones, not buying anything. Maybe you can open more orbs. Maybe there's going to be events that come in the game that they're going to allow us to get more of this gear. A lot of that stuff, like I'm sure this orb milestone that we're going to get, and hopefully in the next few weeks, is probably going to have some of this gear tier 15 stuff at the bottom of it. So you're going to want to get all of those milestones to up that number. So that'll reduce that potential 9 to 10 month period. But again, Some people, maybe they can't buy everything in the supplier war store. All right, so maybe, anyway, you get the idea that you're around 10 months time to get, that amount of stuff in for the characters I picked. Now, again, let's jump back to how many characters I picked. I've got 4 per trait, okay? So you're looking at 4 per trait here, where I've got Mr. Sinister, Captain America, Black Widow, Ghost for Global, Cosmic, I've got Minerva, Hela, Thor, Proxima Midnight, City, Anti-Venom, Carnage, Venom, Symbiote, Spider-Man, and Legendary, I got Phoenix, Ebony Maw, Shuri, and Nick Fury. And so the next question is, well, Wolver, what if you picked a bunch of expensive characters? Okay, yeah, maybe I did. Maybe you can get in there quicker. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Well, so I went back to my graphic again, and I circled, actually zoom out a second, I circled all the characters I picked. Now, this top one, you got to zoom in for the legendaries. I got a 72, and look, it's 90, 72, 54, 36, 18. So 90 and 72 are the most expensive. So when you're looking at legendaries, I've got 2 72s, a 90, and a 54. But when you look at them, the lowest you get is 54, and most of them are 72. So that's a pretty good balance there. I don't have a lot of 90s, and I didn't pick all the 54s. Zooming out again, you can look across the 90s. I only picked one, and that's Hela. Only reason I picked her is because of the Greg factor, which is awesome. And I still am hesitant. It's like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do Hela because it's so expensive. Maybe I bring that down and go for a Loki or a Thanos instead and get them in there quicker. I don't know. But you look at the 72s. I'm heavy on the 72s. I've got, again, look at the green circles if you can see them. I've got 2, 4, 5 across the 72s. I've got 2, 4, 5 across the 54s, and I've got 1 across the 36. So, I talk in these videos about balance and, synergy and getting in there quicker. Maybe you can do some things different. Maybe I could get, Merc Lieutenant in there, which, I don't know. I didn't love him in Dark Dimension 3. He was okay. But he still felt like he died pretty quickly, and I didn't really want to play with the RNG a lot there. It's really about the symbiote. So I'd rather really get Carnage and Anti-Venom versus just bringing in, Merc Lieutenant, especially when you factor in SBCs and all that different thing. So, again, using these tunes, which I feel like, based on what we just looked at here, I didn't pick a ton of expensive tunes. I was pretty even, in my opinion, especially when waving synergy or when factoring synergy. I'm at 9 to 10 months. So I feel like that's a reasonable amount of time given what I've gotten in the last 25 days. So now taking all of this together, let's look at what I put together here for a schedule on this stuff, okay? And so what I did here is, again, I do stuff for this where you make a critical path. So you decide, well, okay, what am I going to need here? So what I created is a mini schedule. So starting on the 4th, which is when the level 80 started, the level 80 gold started in Gear Tier 15. That was the first day you could do that. And I just went by week. Okay, I just created weeks, and that's 7 days. As you go across here, you see it goes up 7 days. You see it goes up a week each time, and then I did the months up here as well, so you can see the months. And then I highlighted or created what, in my industry, a bar chart a little bit, where you can see how long these things go. And they're all in these different parallel paths. And so it's like, okay, so I've got this gold start, and if I think it's 7, again, from what we saw before, about 7 weeks to get that 34 million gold, all right, well, then I should be able to have enough gold, assuming I don't spend it on anything else, by late December. Okay, just focus on that. And again, you could spend it on things, but you're around late December. And you see these other 2 bars go past it, so you're like, I'm not really super worried about whether that is going to, be a constraint. Maybe it's another month or so, or another couple weeks, fine. So let's let's look at level 80 energy. The infographic we already looked at, that was 2.5 months. All right, so we go up here to this. All right, well, I'm right around there. It's around 2.5 months. Maybe it's another week. And again, maybe this gold lingers in, but you've got your level 80 energy pushing it further. So you know what? As long as you're not, spending your gold foolishly, you'll have the gold needed to level up those tunes. All right, so all right, now we've got training models, which I'm kind of like, well, let's see what Gear 15 uniques go. And you go over on this, and it's like, what did I say? How many months? All right, let's just zoom out because this is ridiculous. I'm not going to keep scooping over. And it's like, all right, so you can see this giant blue bar. All right, so you look at that. All right, and I can't zoom out anymore. Okay, it's impossible. But the orange one was my level 80 energy. The yellow one was my level 80 gold. This row here, which I didn't have a color on, was my training modules. Let's just say it's there. I don't know what it is. I don't care. Whatever. Takes you, 4 months to get the training modules needed. You're still looking at, an additional 5-6 months to get to the gear tier 15 that you need. One thing I want to add in here too, that when you're really factoring in what to do here, is you look at, actually let's look at it on this part here, because originally what I was going to do is show you guys kind of where, factor in, well, how long is it going to take me to actually do these nodes? So, I've got, Fates. I'm basically looking at Fates. He started, I think, around the 24th is when Dark Dimension 4 started. He basically did all the non-requirement nodes in a day, and maybe even the global ones in about a day or two. I put 2 to 3 days. And then as of when I was originally looking at this, he hadn't entered Cosmic yet. So you're basically looking at about a week to get through those first 6 nodes. And when you're looking at these charts above, it's like, okay, well, I don't need to rush through those nodes necessarily because I've got, again, these giant constraints on here. So when I'm looking at Dark Dimension 4, let's see here, let's pull this up. I got Dark Dimension 4, Fates is doing a good job. He kind of planned, he got through where he needed to go through. And then I think he's about at Cosmic. Has he hit it yet? No. So he's finished this one. There's my Cosmic Global. So he finished this one, and he did a great job with this fantastic team. And then eventually he's going to go to this, Cosmic node. Once he gets his Cosmic tunes ready, he'll go in there. Tadano Mac was sitting in on this node for quite a bit, and I think, he just today showed up in the global nodes. And if you look at his team, this is not a team I'd necessarily recommend. Shield Trooper and Aim Monstrosity. Now, I know he went to them because the gear requirements for those are small. I think Shield Trooper 0, I believe, and Aim Monstrosity, I think, is maybe 36. And there's not really any 18, so it's about as cheap as you can get. Now, granted, it's bio. I think it's bio. But that's what Tadano went with, and so he's just brute forcing himself through that. So he went through that first node, second node, and he's not quite on the third node yet. So he's brute forcing himself through there. But the idea is that, do you rush through to get your characters to level 80 and all that stuff when you potentially hit that constraint of gear later? And, obviously even these giant whales who, spend a lot of time in the game, money on the game, they're still hitting that gear bottleneck. So you got time, right? So what does this mean? Okay, 1, you've got to save and you got to plan appropriately. But 2, you don't need to just focus in on your Dark Dimension 4 tunes. You can give gold to your arena characters. Even if you're not going to bring Call Obsidian to Dark Dimension 4, go ahead and give them, the levels you're getting. It's not a big deal. You can level them up. The gold's not going to, the gold that you can make a couple times over by the time you get the gear, at least these gear tier, 15 uniques. It's going to take forever to get in there. And I was honestly floored when I saw that. I was like, what? That's like 2, 3, 4 times longer than the rest of the stuff. And I started thinking, I'm like, should I even be buying these energy offers? Honestly, that's what the first thing I thought of is, why am I buying energy offers? Because I'm going to get these tunes to level 80 and not have any gear to get them into Dark Dimension 4. Even if I get lucky, even if I buy a few offers, I'm not going to have the gear to get them into Dark Dimension 4. There is no way. The halfway point for this thing is right around here. Okay, so if that's my halfway point from that whole mark, so even if I cut that time in half, I'm still got 2-3 months of time to get to that halfway mark. So I'm like, bro, you got time. It's the gear tier 15. We all knew that was the bottleneck. How big of a bottleneck did we realize it was? I didn't realize it was that. I wasn't thinking 10 months out. I'll tell you that right now. So I'm really going to be looking for this stuff to be injected into the game in different milestones, events, and I'm going to be keeping an eye out for how to get it for cheap deals. If you want to get into Dark Dimension 4 quickly, that's what I recommend you do as well. And again, if you're not really worried about getting to level 80 and buying those offers and you're tight on money, suggestion is don't buy them. You've got plenty of time. That gear, you're going to hit level 80 well before you're going to even come close to some of that gear. So that was the main gist of this video. I just kind of wanted to show you guys that little bar chart. Like I said, the giant critical path there is pushing everything way out. We've got so much float, is what we call it, in those other activities. You are so good. So anyway, I hope this video helps. I try to do this stuff to kind of let people know how I'm playing the game. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. Keep some things up, save at the same time. If you want to come chat, Discord is in the description, but the Discord link is in the description below. Obviously, provide a comment below if you want to as well. Feel free to chat. Hammer down that like button. Share with your alliance mates, grandpas, grandmas, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, all that kind of stuff. With subscription bells, notification buttons, that stuff. Until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.